6 months ago, I had no idea I was going to be standing here telling you. I had no idea I'd have a YouTube Shorts channel that got monetized in under 3 months. I had no idea I'd make $1,000 in my first 7 days of being monetized. I had no idea that a format most people completely overlook would become the fastest path to real income I've ever found online. I had no idea that after years, literal years, of trying to figure out how to make money on the internet, the answer would be 60-second video. And I had no idea that starting a regular YouTube channel alongside it would compound everything even further. 6 months ago, I was just sitting there, frustrated, scrolling, consuming content from people who were living the life I wanted, and wondering why I couldn't crack the code. And now, everything is different. Not because I got lucky, not because I went viral once and rode the wave, but because I actually started. And I didn't just start once, I started in 2 formats, YouTube Shorts and long-form YouTube, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how both of them work, why you need both of them, and why you should stop overthinking this and just hit record. Because here's the thing, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. And I'm gonna be real with you right now, because I know who's watching. You've probably been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for a while now, maybe months, maybe a year, maybe longer. You've watched all the how to grow on YouTube videos. You've taken notes. You've planned out content calendars. You've debated whether to do long form or shorts. You've gone back and forth between niches, and you still haven't uploaded a single video. I know, because that was me. For about 3 years, I was trying different things online. 3 years. I tried all kinds of stuff to generate income on the internet, and nothing was sticking. And during that whole time, I was consuming more content about making money online than I was actually doing any. I was stuck in what I call endless preparation mode. I was learning, reading, watching, planning, but never actually executing. And the worst part is, I already had the skills. I come from a technical background. I know how to build things. I know how to problem solve, but knowing how to do something and actually doing it are completely different things. And I needed to stop preparing and start doing. And let me back up for a second and tell you about those 3 years, because I think it's important for you to understand where I was coming from. I wasn't just casually exploring things. I was actively trying to find something that worked. I tried different models. I tried different platforms. I looked into all kinds of stuff, and every single time I would get excited about something, start learning about it, consume all the content about it, make a plan, and then either never start or start and quit within a few weeks because I wasn't seeing results fast enough. And the whole time, I had this voice in the back of my head telling me that I was wasting my time, that I should just focus on my career, that this whole making money on the internet thing was a pipe dream. And that voice almost won. There were moments where I genuinely considered just giving up entirely on the idea of building something outside of a traditional job, just accepting that I was going to trade hours for dollars for the rest of my life and being okay with that. But I couldn't. Something inside me wouldn't let go of the idea that there was more out there, that I could build something, that I could create value on my own terms. And so I kept trying and failing and trying again. And then one day, something just clicked. I looked at YouTube Shorts and I realized that this format removed almost every barrier that had stopped me before. I didn't need to be on camera. I didn't need expensive equipment. I didn't need to spend 10 hours editing a single video. I didn't need to write a perfect 3,000 word script. I just needed to create short, compelling content consistently. And that realization changed everything. Because the problem was never that I couldn't create. The problem was that I'd set the bar so ridiculously high for what starting looked like that I could never clear it. And Shorts lowered that bar to the ground. It made starting almost frictionless. And that's the key thing that nobody talks about. The format you choose to start with matters. Not because one format is better than another long term, but because some formats make it way easier to actually begin. And beginning is the hardest part. So one day, I just did it. I started a YouTube Shorts channel. No overthink, no waiting for the perfect setup, no spending weeks on branding. I just started making shorts. And here's what happened. I got monetized in under 3 months. And I want to be completely transparent about this because I know it sounds like one of those clickbait stories. I actually took a break in between. I wasn't even uploading consistently the entire time. I took a break, I came back, and I still got monetized in under 3 months total. And then within my first 7 days of being monetized, I made $1,000. $1,000 in 7 days from YouTube Shorts. Not from selling a course, not from affiliate marketing, not from sponsorships, just from the content itself. And after years of trying to figure out how to make money online, that moment was surreal. It wasn't just the money, it was the proof. Proof that I could actually build something, proof that the skills I'd been developing, the storytelling, the understanding of what makes people stop scrolling, the consistency, all of that was paying off. And that $1,000 in 7 days, that compounded. That grew, and it's still growing But here's what most people don't understand about YouTube Shorts, and this is where I really need you to pay attention. Most people think of Shorts as this throwaway format. They think it's just TikTok on YouTube. They think it's not serious. They think you can't build a real channel or real income from it. And that's exactly why it's one of the biggest opportunities right now. Because while everyone else is sleeping on Shorts, people like me are quietly building monetized channels in under 90 days. While everyone else is spending 6 months trying to get their first long-form video perfect, Shorts creators are already generating revenue. And here's the data that should wake you up. YouTube Shorts gets over 70 billion views per day. That's billion with a B every single day. The audience is massive. The barrier to entry is absurdly low. You can make a short on your phone in 15 minutes. And the algorithm is actively pushing Shorts to new viewers because YouTube is competing with TikTok and Instagram Reels for that short form attention. So the algorithm is literally working in your favor if you're making shorts right now. That doesn't mean it's easy. It's not. You still need to understand hooks. You still need to understand pacing. You still need to know how to tell a compelling story in under 60 seconds. And most importantly, you need to be consistent. But the learning curve is so much faster with shorts because the feedback loop is incredibly tight. You make a short, you upload it, and within 24 to 48 hours, you know if it worked or not. Compare that to long form where you might wait weeks to understand how a video performs. With shorts, you're getting data fast. You're learning what hooks work. You're learning what topics your audience cares about. You're iterating rapidly, and every single short teaches you something. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part most people completely miss. YouTube Shorts isn't just a standalone strategy. It's a launch pad. It's the fastest way to build an audience, get monetized, start generating revenue, and then use that momentum to build a long-form YouTube channel. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I started with shorts because the barrier to entry is lower. The production requirements are minimal. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need a crazy editing set. You don't need to spend 8 hours editing a single. You just need your phone, a story to tell, and the willingness to hit upload. And once you've built that foundation with shorts, once you have subscribers, once you're monetized, once you have an audience that knows and trusts you, that's when you layer in long form content. Because long form is where the real depth happens. Long form is where you build deeper connections with your audience. Long form is where you can really dive into topics, share your full story, provide massive value that can't fit into 60 seconds. And long form ad revenue is significantly higher than shorts revenue per view. So the strategy is this: use shorts to get in the door. Use shorts to learn fast, build an audience, and start making money. Then use long form to go deeper, build community, and multiply your revenue. You don't have to choose one or the other. You use both, and they feed each other. Your shorts bring new people to your channel. Those people check out your long form content. Your long form content builds deeper loyalty and higher revenue. And your long form audience watches your shorts, which signals to the algorithm that your shorts are worth pushing to even more people. It's a compounding loop, and most creators don't understand this yet. They're either all in on long form and ignoring shorts completely, or they're only doing shorts and not leveraging the long form opportunity. And you can be the person who does both. And let me break this down even further, because I want you to understand the economics of this. When you're only doing shorts, you're earning shorts revenue, which comes from the shorts fund and ad revenue sharing. And that's great. That's real money. I made $1,000 in 7 days from it. But the RPM, the revenue per 1,000 views on shorts, is lower than long form. On a good day, you might make anywhere from a few cents to a couple dollars per 1,000 views on shorts. On long form, especially in higher value niches like personal finance, business, or technology, you could be making $5, $10, even $20 or more per 1,000 views. So if you have a short that gets 500,000 views, that might make you $50 to $200. But if you have a long form video that gets 50,000 views, that could make you $250 to $500 or more. The math is completely different. And when you combine both, when you have shorts bringing in massive view counts and new subscribers, and long form generating high RPM ad revenue, and both are feeding each other, that's when the income really starts to compound. That's when you go from making a little bit of money to making real money that can actually change your financial situation. And there's another layer to this that most people don't think about. When you have a long form channel alongside your shorts, you open up entirely new revenue streams. Sponsorships almost exclusively go to long form creators because brands want dedicated integration that lasts more than 5 seconds. Affiliate marketing works way better in long form because you have time to actually explain and demonstrate product. And if you ever want to sell your own own products, courses, community memberships, or consulting services. Long form is where you build the trust that makes people want to buy from you. Shorts gets you discovered. Long form gets you paid. Both together build a real business. And that's what I'm building. Not just a channel, a business. A real asset that generates income while I sleep, that grows over time, that compounds month after month. And it all started with 60-second short. And I'm going to be real with you about something. Starting with shorts saved me so much time and frustration. Because here's what happens when people try to start with long form right out the gate. They spend weeks planning their first video. They obsess over script, buy equipment they can't afford. They spend days editing. They finally upload it and get 47 views. And then they're devastated. They think YouTube doesn't work. They think nobody cares about their content and they quit. I've seen it happen over and over and over again. But with shorts, you could make 10 videos in the time it takes to make one long form video. That's 10 chances to learn. 10 chances to see what works. 10 chances to get a video that actually takes off. And even if 8 of those 10 flop, the 2 that do well teach you more about content creation than any course or tutorial ever could. Because you're learning by doing. You're not theorizing about what might work. You're testing it in real time and getting real feedback from real viewers. And that feedback loop is everything. When I first started making shorts, my early ones were rough. The hooks weren't tight enough. The pacing was off. I didn't understand how to structure a story for 60 seconds, but because I could create and upload them so quickly, I was getting better at an insane rate. Every day I was learning something new. Every upload was a mini experiment. And within weeks, I could feel the difference. My hooks were sharper. My stories were tighter. My view counts were climbing. And all of that skill transferred directly to long form content when I started making. Everything I learned about hooking someone in the first second of a short, that same skill makes my long form intros better. Everything I learned about pacing a story in 60 seconds makes my 15-minute videos more engaging. The skills compound across format. And now I want to address the objection because I know exactly what some of you are thinking right. You're thinking YouTube Shorts is oversaturated. There's too much competition. Why would anyone watch my shorts when there are already millions of them? And I'm going to be real with you. That's a terrible excuse. And here's why. Less than 1% of people on Earth have a YouTube channel. Less than 1%. And of those channels, the vast majority are dead. Most people upload once or twice and quit. Most channels never get monetized. Most shorts creators give up before they even figure out what works. So when you say it's saturated, what you're really saying is, I'm scared no one will watch. And I get it. That's a valid fear. I had that exact same fear before I uploaded my first short. I sat there with my finger hovering over the upload button thinking, what if nobody watches this? What if people think this is stupid? What if I'm wasting my time? And you know what? My first short wasn't a masterpiece. It didn't go viral, but people did watch it. Some of them even liked it, and that was enough to make the next one, and the next one, and the next one after that. And eventually, one of them caught fire. But it wouldn't have caught fire if I hadn't uploaded the first one. And here's a stat that should put this in perspective. Of the channels that do exist on YouTube, the vast majority never even reach 1,000 subscribers. Most creators quit within the first month. So the real competition isn't the millions of channels that exist on paper. The real competition is the tiny fraction of creators who actually show up consistently. And if you commit to showing up week after week, you're already ahead of 90% of the people who ever start. But it's not a reason not to start because you don't need millions of viewers. You don't need to compete with the biggest creators on the platform. You just need to find your people, the people who resonate with your specific perspective, your specific story, your specific voice. And those people exist. They're out there right now scrolling through shorts looking for someone like you. You just have to show up consistently enough for them to find another objection. I don't know what to make shorts about. And this is the easiest objection to handle because the answer is the same as long form. Make content about what you know, what you're learning, what you're going through. Share your perspective, tell your story, document your journey. If you're trying to get out of debt, make shorts about that. If you're learning to code, make shorts about that. If you're trying to retire early, make shorts about that. If you're navigating your career, make shorts about that. If you just graduated and the job market is brutal, make shorts about that. If you're a parent trying to balance building wealth with raising kids, make shorts about that. If you're stuck at a job you hate and trying to figure out your next move, make shorts about that. Every single one of those situations is content. Every struggle is a story. Every lesson is a short. And here's something that took me way too long to understand. You don't need to be 10 steps ahead of your audience. You just need to be one step ahead. Or honestly, you don't even need to be ahead at all. You can be exactly where they are, going through the exact same thing and simply document it. Because people don't just want to learn from experts who've already made it. They want to follow along with people who are in the trenches right now. They want to see the real unfiltered journey. They want to see someone try something, fail, learn, and try again. That's compelling content. That's what people connect with. And that's what shorts shorts are perfect for, because you can capture those moments in real time. You had a bad day at work? That's a short. You learned something about investing that blew your mind? That's a short. You hit a milestone? That's a short. You failed at something? That's actually the best short, because people engage with vulnerability and authenticity more than they engage with polished success story. And here's another thing. When you first start, your content doesn't need to be groundbreaking. It just needs to be yours. Your perspective on any topic, even a topic that's been covered a million times, is unique, because you're unique. Your background, your experiences, your voice, your way of explaining things, all of that is different from everyone else. Nobody else has lived your life. Nobody else sees the world exactly the way you do. And that's your competitive advantage, not some fancy editing tech, not some secret algorithm hack. Your perspective, that's it. So stop telling yourself you don't know what to make content about. You know exactly what to make content about. You're just scared that nobody will care. And I'm telling you, they will. Maybe not millions of people, but enough people to change your life. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to be real. People can smell the BS from a mile away, and they don't want another polished guru telling them what to do. They want someone who's actually going through it, who's being honest about the wins and the losses, and who's documenting the process in real time. And that's what I do. I'm not pretending to have it all figured out. I'm sharing what I'm learning as I learn it. And that authenticity is what gets people to subscribe, to engage, and to keep coming back. Next objection: I don't have time. And I hear this one a lot. And I'm gonna be honest, this one frustrates me a little bit because it's almost never true. Here's the reality. A YouTube short takes 15 to 30 minutes to make, from idea to upload. That's it. You can batch create shorts in a single evening and have content for the entire week. I'm talking about sitting down 2 hours on a Sunday night and creating 7 shorts. That's one per day for the entire week, done in a single session. Compare that to long form, where a single video might take 5, 8, even 10 hours between scripting, recording, and editing. If you're strapped for time, shorts is literally the most time efficient content format that exists right now. And let me put this in perspective. The average person spends over 2 hours a day on social media. 2 hours. That's 14 hours a week spent scrolling, watching, consuming. If you took just 2 of those 14 hours, just 2, and redirected them into creating shorts, you could have an entire week's worth of content done and still have 12 hours of scrolling time left if you really wanted it. So don't tell me you don't have time. You have time. You're just spending it on consumption instead of creation. And look, I get it. After a long day at work, the last thing you want to do is sit down and create something. You're tired. You're drained. You just want to decompress. I feel that. I've been there. I come from a technical background, and after a full day of problem solving and staring at screens, the idea of creating content feels exhausting. But here's what I learned. Creating content actually energizes me more than consuming content does. When I'm scrolling for 2 hours, I feel worse at the end than when I started. I feel sluggish, unproductive, and guilty. But when I spend even 30 minutes creating a short, I feel accomplished. I feel like I moved the needle forward. I feel like I'm building something, and that feeling compounds over time. The more you create, the more energy you have for create. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. Creation breeds more creation. Consumption breeds more consumption. And you get to choose which cycle you're in. And most people spend more time scrolling TikTok in a single day than it would take to create a week's worth of shorts. So don't tell me you don't have time. You have time. You're just spending it on consumption instead of creation. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm saying it because I was the exact same way. I used to scroll for hours, just watching other people build the things I wanted to build. And the day I flipped that switch, the day I decided I was going to be the creator instead of the consumer, everything changed. So here's what I want you to do. I'm serious about this week, not next month, not when you feel ready. This week, I want you to make your first YouTube short, not your first long form video, your first short. Because here's why starting with shorts is so powerful psychologically. The barrier is lower. You don't need to write a 3,000 word script. You don't need to edit for hours. You don't need perfect lighting or a studio setup. You just need your phone and something to say. And because the barrier is lower, you're more likely to actually do it. And once you do it, once you hit upload on that first short, something shifts inside you. You go from someone who's thinking about creating to someone who is actually creating. And that identity shift from consumer to creator is the most important thing that will happen to you. It's more important than the views. It's more important than the subscriber count. It's more important than the revenue. Because once you see yourself as a creator, you start showing up different. You start thinking in content. You start seeing stories everywhere. You start building instead of just dreaming. And that first short is the trigger for all of it. Now, I'm going to lay out what the next 6 months could actually look like if you start today. And I'm going to be realistic about this, not some fantasy timeline, but what actually happens based on my own experience and what I've seen from people in my community. Month 1, you're going to be rough. Your shorts are going to be okay okay at best. Your hooks won't be as tight as they need to be. Your pacing might be off. You might get 100 to 500 views per short, and that's going to feel discouraging. You're going to look at other creators getting tens of thousands of views and wonder what you're doing wrong. And the answer is nothing. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just new. And being new is the price of admission. Everybody who's crushing it right now was terrible at some point. They just didn't quit during the terrible phase. So your job in month 1 is simple. Create, upload. Don't judge, don't overanalyze. Just get the reps in. Think of it like going to the gym for the first time. You're not going to bench press 225 on day 1. You're going to struggle with the bar, and that's fine. That's expected. You're building the muscle. You're figuring out what tools you like. You're going to start developing your voice. You're going to start understanding how the shorts algorithm works, and you're going to get your first few subscribers, people who actually chose to follow you because they like what you said. And that matters more than you think, because those first 10, 20, 50 subscribers, those are real people who saw something in your content and decided to hit subscribe. That's not enough. That's the beginning of some real. Month 2 and 3. This is where things start clicking. You've uploaded enough shorts to have real data. You know which hooks work. You know which topics your audience cares about. Your view counts are climbing. You're starting to develop a rhythm. Creating doesn't feel as hard anymore because you've built the habit. And then one day it happens. You make a short that breaks out. Maybe it gets 50,000 views, maybe 100,000, maybe 500,000. And that short alone could bring in hundreds or thousands of subscribers overnight. And in that moment, you'll feel something you've never felt before from consuming content. You'll feel the power of creation. You'll realize that something you made with your phone in 15 minutes reached tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. That feeling is indescribable. And it's addictive in the best way. By the end of month 3, if you're consistent, you could be monetized. I did it in under 3 months with a break in between. If you're uploading daily or near daily without breaks, you could do it even faster. And the day you get that monetization email, the day you open YouTube Studio and see your first dollar of revenue, that's the day everything becomes real. It's no longer a hobby. It's no longer an experiment. It's a real income stream that you built from nothing. And at this point, you can start thinking about long form. You already have an audience. You already know what topics resonate. You already have the storytelling skills you develop from making hundreds of shorts. Making the jump to long form feels natural because you've already done the hardest part, which is figuring out your voice and building an audience. You're not starting from zero with long form. You're starting from a position of strength. Month 4 and 5, you're now running both formats. Shorts are still bringing in new viewers every single day, but your long form content is building deeper relationships. People are watching 10, 15, 20-minute videos from you. They're leaving longer comments. They're joining your community. They're becoming loyal fans, not just casual viewers. And your revenue is growing from both sides. Shorts RPM plus long form RPM. They're compounding together, and you're starting to see real money come in. Not life-changing money yet necessarily, but enough to know that this thing is real. Enough to know that you're building something. Enough to cover a bill. Enough to invest back into your channel. Enough to make you realize that this could actually become a significant income stream if you keep going. And something else happens in months 4 and 5 that nobody tells you about. People start reaching out to you. Other creators want to collaborate. Viewers send you messages saying your content changed how they think about something. Maybe someone tells you that your short about budgeting inspired them to start tracking their spending. Maybe someone says your video about quitting their job gave them the courage to negotiate a raise. And those moments, those messages, those connections, they're worth more than any ad revenue check because they prove that what you're creating actually matters to real people. And that feeling of impact is the thing that keeps you going when the algorithm doesn't cooperate, when a video flops, when you're tired and don't want to create. You keep going because you know someone out there needs to hear what you have to say. Month 6, you look back and you cannot believe how far you've come. You have a monetized shorts channel. You have a growing long form presence. You have an actual audience that trusts you. You have revenue coming in from multiple streams. You have skills in storytelling, editing, analytics, and content strategy that you can monetize in 100 different ways. You have a community of people who genuinely care about your content and your journey. And most importantly, you've proven to yourself that you can build something from nothing. That proof, that evidence, that internal knowing that you did this, that changes everything. It bleeds into your confidence at work. It bleeds into how you see your financial future. It bleeds into how you approach every other goal in your life. You carry yourself differently. You think different. You see opportunities where you used to see obstacles because you're no longer the person who just thinks about doing. You're the person who actually does them. And that identity shift from dreamer to doer, from consumer to creator, that's the real prize. That's worth more than any subscriber count or revenue number. Or You could spend the next 6 months doing exactly what you're doing right now, watching videos about starting YouTube, taking more notes, planning more content calendars, debating between shorts and long form, waiting for the perfect moment, and 6 months from now, you'll be in the exact same spot you're in today. The next 6 months are going to pass whether you start or not. The question is, where do you want to be when they're over? And I'm going to be real with you about something else. The biggest thing that held me back for years wasn't lack of knowledge. It wasn't lack of skill. It wasn't lack of equipment. It was the belief that I needed everything to be perfect before I could start. I needed the perfect niche. I needed the perfect brand name. I needed the perfect editing software. I needed the perfect plan. I needed to know exactly what my channel was going to be about, exactly who my target audience was, exactly what my content calendar was going to look like for the next 6 months. And you know what? All that perfectionism got me. 3 years of nothing. 3 years of watching other people build the things I wanted to build. 3 years of being stuck in preparation mode while other creators who were less talented, less knowledgeable, and less prepared than me were out there building audiences and making money. And that's the most frustrating part. I knew I had something valuable to share. I knew I could create good content. I knew I could do this. But I kept getting in my own way. I kept finding reasons not to start. I kept telling myself I'd start next week, next month, when I had more time, when I had better equipment, when I felt ready. And the moment I let go of perfection and just started creating imperfect, raw, unpolished content, that's when everything changed. My first shorts weren't amazing. They weren't bad either, but they weren't these cinematic masterpieces. They were just me sharing a perspective in 60 seconds or less. And that was enough. That was enough to get views. That was enough to get subscribers. That was enough to get monetized. That was enough to make $1,000 in 7 days. And here's what's wild. Some of my best performing shorts, the ones that got the most views, were the ones I spent the least time on. The ones I just made quickly, authentically, without overthinking. Because the audience doesn't care about your production quality nearly as much as you think they care about the message. They care about the story. They care about whether you're being real. And you can deliver all of that with your phone and zero editing experience. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. I don't care how good your plan is. If you don't execute it, it's worthless. And a mediocre video that's uploaded is infinitely more valuable than a perfect video that only exists in your head. So stop waiting. Stop planning. Stop watching videos about starting YouTube and actually start YouTube. And here's another thing I want to talk about, because I don't think enough people discuss this, the psychological transformation that happens when you become a creator. When I was just a consumer, I felt stuck. I felt like I was watching life happen to other people while I was just sitting there. I was going to work, coming home, scrolling, sleeping, and repeating the cycle. There was no sense of momentum. There was no sense of progress. I wasn't building anything for myself. I was just trading my time for money and then spending what was left of my energy consuming other people's content. But when I started creating, everything shifted. I had a purpose outside of my job. I had something I was building that was mine. Every short I uploaded was progress. Every subscriber was validation. Every dollar was proof. And that sense of momentum, that feeling of building something from nothing, is addictive in the best possible way. It makes you want to do more. It makes you think bigger. It makes you realize that the ceiling you thought existed was just a story you were telling yourself. And now I wake up every day knowing that I'm not just an employee. I'm a creator. I'm building something. I'm generating income on my own terms. I'm connecting with people who share my value. And I'm proving every single day that it's possible to build a life outside of the traditional 9-to-5 path. And you can have that same transformation. You just have to start. And I think one of the saddest things about modern life is how it beats the creativity out of people. You were creative as a kid. You drew, you built, you imagined, you created without any fear of judgment. And then the system told you to sit still, follow the rules, study for tests, get a degree, get a job, climb the ladder. And now your creativity is channeled into building someone else's dream. You create reports, spreadsheets, presentations, and value for a corporation that would replace you tomorrow if it was profitable to do so. And over time, you stop creating for yourself entirely. You become a full-time consumer. You scroll, you watch, you absorb, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you think, I could never make content like that. But you can. You absolutely can. You just have to give yourself permission to create again. And starting a YouTube Shorts channel is one of the lowest friction ways to do that. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a degree. You don't need money. You just need your phone and 15 minutes. That's it. And every short you create is you reclaiming a little bit of that creativity that got beaten out of you. Now, before I wrap this up, I want to talk about what not to do, because I see a lot of people make the same mistakes when they start with shorts. Mistake number one, they make shorts that have no hook. First second of your short is the most important second. If you don't grab attention immediately, people are going to swipe past you. You need to start with something that makes people stop scrolling. scrolling, a bold claim, a surprising fact, a provocative question, something that creates an open loop that the viewer needs to close by watching the rest. If your first sentence doesn't stop the scroll, nothing else matters. Mistake number 2, they tried to pack too much into one short. A short is not a condensed long-form video. It's one idea, one story, one perspective, delivered concisely. Pick one thing and deliver it with clarity and impact. Don't try to cover your entire life story in 60 seconds. Mistake number 3, they're not consistent. They upload 3 shorts, get 200 views, and quit. That's like going to the gym 3 times, not seeing abs, and deciding fitness doesn't work. Consistency is everything. You need to upload regularly for weeks and months before you can even begin to evaluate whether it's work. The algorithm needs time to understand your content and find your audience, and you need time to develop your skills. Mistake number 4, they copy someone else's style instead of developing their own. Yes, study what worked. Yes, learn from successful creators, but don't try to be a carbon copy of someone else, because people can feel that inauthenticity. Your unique perspective is your competitive advantage. Don't throw that away by trying to be someone you're not. And mistake number 5, they obsess over analytics too early. Don't stare at your view counts after every upload. In the first month, your only job is to create, upload, learn, iterate. The analytics become useful later when you have enough data to see patterns, but in the beginning, they'll just stress you out and make you want to quit. And I want to talk about something else that's really important that nobody talks about when it comes to starting on YouTube, and that's the community aspect. Because building a YouTube channel, whether it's shorts or long form or both, isn't just about making videos and hoping they get views. It's about building relationships with real people, and that changes the entire game. When I started getting subscribers, I didn't just treat them as numbers. I engaged with them, I replied comments, I asked questions, I created a community where people could connect with each other, not just with me, and that community became one of the most valuable things I've ever built. Because here's what happens when you build a real community around your content. Those people become your biggest supporters. They watch every video you put out. They share your content with their friends. They give you feedback that makes your videos better. They hold you accountable when you're slack. And they create a network effect where your community grows your channel faster than the algorithm alone ever could. And beyond the channel growth, having a community of people who share your value, who are working towards similar goals, who support each other, that's fulfilling in a way that solo content creation isn't. When I see people in my community celebrating their wins, sharing that they hit their first 100 subscribers, sharing that they saved their first $1,000, sharing that they took action on something I talked about in a video, that feeling is better than any view count. And if you're watching this thinking about early retirement, financial independence, building wealth, escaping the 9-to-5 grind, whatever your version of that is, a YouTube channel can actually be a vehicle for all of that. Think about it. YouTube ad revenue is passive income in the truest sense. Once you upload a video, it can generate revenue for years. I have shorts that I uploaded months ago that are still getting views today, still generating income while I'm asleep, while I'm at work, while I'm doing literally anything else. That's the power of content. You create once and it pays you over and over and over again. And as your library of content grows, your income compounds. 10 videos making a little bit each, 50 videos making a little bit each, 100 videos making a little bit each. It adds up. And that's just ad revenue. When you layer in the other monetization strategies, community memberships, consulting, digital products, sponsorships, the income potential grows exponentially. And all of it starts with one short, one 60-second video. That's the seed that grows into everything else. And I think that's what most people fail to grasp. They look at a single short and think, how is that going to change my life? And on its own, it won't. But it's not about one short. It's about the habit of creating. It's about the skills you develop. It's about the audience you build one person at a time. It's about the compound effect of showing up consistently for months and years. That's what changes your life. Not any single video. The cumulative effect of all of them together. And that's true for anything worth building. By the way, it's true for investing. It's true for fitness. It's true for relationships. It's true for skills. The compound effect is the most powerful force in the world. And most people never experience it because they quit before the compounding kicks in. Don't be that person. Stick around long enough to see the compounding work. It's magic. And that brings me to the most important thing I tell you. Most people who watch this video aren't going to do anything. They'll watch it. They'll think, yeah, I should start making shorts. They'll maybe even get a little excited about it. And then they'll go back to scrolling. They'll watch another video about starting YouTube. They'll take more notes. They'll add it to their to-do list for someday. And 6 months from now, they'll still be in the exact same position. Don't be most people. Be the exception. Be the person who actually takes action. Be the person who opens up their camera app today and records a 60-second short about something they're passionate about. Be the person who hits upload, even though it's not perfect. Be the person who looks back 6 months from now and says, I cannot believe how much has changed since that day I actually started, because I am living proof that this works. I spent 3 years trying to figure out online income, 3 years of failed attempts and frustration, and then I started making shorts, and in under 3 months I was monetized. In 7 days I made $1,000, and now I'm building long form content alongside it, compounding everything, creating something that's bigger than just one format. And it all started because I stopped overthinking and just hit record. You can do this too. You just have to start. So here's my challenge to you. Before you close this video, I want you to do one thing, just one thing. Open up your camera app or your notes app or whatever you have and either record your first short or write down the idea for it. Don't worry about the quality. Don't worry about the hook being perfect. Don't worry about the editing. Just capture the first idea, because that single action, as small as it seems, is the difference between the people who build something and the people who just think about it. And I know that sounds dramatic for something as simple as writing down a video idea, but think about it. Every successful creator you've ever watched started with one idea, one moment where they went from thinking about creating to actually doing something about it. That's the moment I'm asking you to have right now. Not tomorrow, not this weekend, right now while you're watching this. Because if you close this video without taking action, the motivation you're feeling right now will fade. It always does. That's why you have to capture it in the moment. Write the idea down, open the camera, do something, anything that turns this from inspiration into action. And here's another thing I want you to understand. You're going to feel resistance. The moment you decide to actually do this, your brain is going to come up with 100 reasons why now isn't the right time. That's normal. That resistance is called fear. And everybody who's ever created anything has felt the difference between the people who succeed and the people who stay stuck is not that successful people don't feel fear. It's that they act despite the fear. They hit record even when they're nervous. They hit upload even when the video isn't perfect. They show up again the next day, even when yesterday's short only got 47 views. That's all success is. Repeatedly choosing action over comfort. And you can start making that choice right now. And if you do start, come tell me about your channel. Tell me what your first short was about. Tell me what you're building, because there's nothing more fulfilling to me than seeing someone take that first step and actually start creating. I'm serious about it. Every single message I get from someone saying they started a channel because of something I said, that's fuel for me. That's why I keep making these videos. Not just for the revenue, not just for the subscribers, but because I genuinely believe that creating content can change your life the way it changed mine. And I want as many people as possible to experience that. And if you want to take this further, come join the community. We've got people in there who are doing this exact thing, building shorts channels, growing long form content, sharing wins, sharing losses, giving feedback on each other's videos, and supporting each other's goals. You don't have to do this alone. In fact, you shouldn't do this alone. Having a community of people who are on the same journey as you, who understand the challenges, who can celebrate your wins and pick you up when things don't go as planned, that makes everything easier and faster and more enjoyable. There's a community of people who are actually doing the work, not just talking about it, and you should be one of them. And if you want to support this channel, links are in the description down below. But more importantly than any of that, commit publicly right now. Drop a comment, tell me what your first short is going to be about. Tell me your channel idea, tell me your niche, because once you tell someone you're going to do it, you're way more likely to actually follow through. There's something psychological about making a public commitment that makes your brain treat it differently than a private thought. It goes from something I might do to something I told people I would do. And that accountability is powerful. Use it. The next 6 months are going to pass whether you start or not. Where do you want to be when they're over? Still watching videos about starting YouTube? Still planning? Still waiting? Or 6 months deep into a real channel with real subscribers, real revenue, and real proof that you can build something from nothing? That choice is yours, and it starts right now. That's our conversation for today. We'll talk again very soon. I hope this gave you the push you needed.